rebranding can often help them with defining the messages that will make the development process more successful. And so rebranding would be very important there. And then finally, they might want to rebrand because people don't know they exist. And, and really it's because it's not that they're not broadcasting that message, it's that nobody's listening. It's because they're saying something, right, they're saying something that doesn't resonate with the intended audience. And so we take them through a process in rebranding where we get very, very in touch with what the audience really wants to hear. And then we look at what their message is and we kind of figure out where those things intersect, and that becomes sort of foundation of their new brand, their rebrand.
Has anybody come to you to rebrand because of the changing demographics, or we've got Gen Y, we've got Gen X, we've got baby boomers, and their messages are very, very different, and how you communicate with each one of those types of groups. But are people coming to you because of that, or maybe their markets are changing and now they got to focus the message differently because of the group they're marketing to?
They are absolutely. In fact, very recently, it happens all the time. Okay. The one that's jumping in my mind, we work with a very large accounting consulting firm in this region, and they realize that the trick for them is not new business. The trick for them is recruiting the people that they need in order to grow their business to serve the need. They already are kind of controlling the marketplaces. The way to expand and grow is to get more great people. So what we launched was a brand initiative for HR, how to brand the company as the best place to work.
I see.
So there were different types of people they were looking for. People who were out of college, which require a very specific message and very specific brand presentation, and then people who were experienced hires. And so by identifying those two groups, identifying what their pains were, identifying what the message was, and sort of how that all intersected with the company's unique difference, we're able to create a brand that was two-faced for two different audiences within one department in a much bigger company. And the results of getting that right are just stellar, right? So you're seeing people responding to that message in a way that they never did before, because what it used to be was the very traditional stead accounting firm. And there's more to it than that. When you create that brand, you can create that experience for people.
And what's also interesting is that you weren't rebranding the whole company, you were taking a segment of it and working on the brand within that. So that's opportunities for other companies. Well, we want to just work on this product line or this particular aspect or this new service we're offering, so they could actually come to you for that without changing the whole brand of the company, but just that specific project.
Yeah, absolutely. This particular company has about 20 different divisions on the inside, and then a corporate umbrella over the entire thing. And so there would just, to try and make any one unique message apply to everybody simply wouldn't work. So they're actually, this was a complicated project. There was a very top level brand message, which was a general value of the organization, and then individual brand messages for the different departments, and within those there were different audiences, and so oftentimes it would break down again. And when you're conscious of the hierarchy that exists there, you can create things that work together rather than offend each other, which is very important. If you're a large organization, you need to pay attention to those sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very interesting. One other thing I'd like to ask you about this is, when you go through a rebrand exercise with somebody, I mean, that's, it's change for them, so it's, people don't always, change is not always easily welcomed in the door, even if you want it.
That's a very nice way of putting that. Yeah.
Not welcomed in the door.
It's not welcome in the door at all, right?
It's not welcomed at all. But how do you help them, I don't want to say sell the idea, but how do you help them communicate that we're going to go through this with their staff? How do you get everybody on board so you can all work together in one big, happy, cohesive team? How does that happen?
We actually have a strategy for it, and we present it when we engage with a company, and we call it change management, because what they need to do is manage the change that has to take place internally. What we found is that in order to gain buy-in, people need to have felt like they had a part in the process and that their voice was heard. And so we identify the people on the front end of a project, rebranding project, that we feel are simply, that they, this is a strategy actually. So we identify the people who we think are going to be obstacles to creating this change within the organization. and we engage them to become a part of the process.
And you do that way up.
Way up front.
Okay.
We help the company recognize that that will be a need.
Okay.
They help us identify who those people are, and we
see.
make sure that those people are a part of the process.
Okay.
So when they're a part of the process, change takes place very easily. There's less resistance there. Their voice is visible in the end result, which is the brand of the company, which probably is what it ought to be.
Right.
And then instead of obstacles to change, we have evangelists for change. And together with the executive staff, they're able to bring that into the organization and through the organization. And then typically when we're finished with a rebrand, we ask our clients to allow us to be a fundamental part of presenting that brand and selling that brand to the organization. We make a big event out of it. There's, they take it off site, there's food, and it turns into a party, and there's some fun stuff, and we present your new brand all in the context of growing the business, which frankly is something everybody wants. There's a way to do it, just have to be very careful. It's more about relationship management than it is about rebranding at that point.
So you cover the full spectrum here, everything from the soft skills of like helping people and the comforting of them through this process all the way through the whole technical end of integrating this online and everywhere.
We do.
It's the whole gamut.
We do, and it didn't start out that way.
It's a full left brain, right brain
right.
company.
It started just by providing the service, and with each successive project, we discovered that the service was not the whole. It wasn't the whole thing. It wasn't what they needed, and so we would slowly add the pieces that they needed. And over the years that we've been doing this, we've discovered there's a lot, everything from interviewing key people and customers and internal and external folks, all the way through selling it on the back end, internally. Making it in the middle, which used to be the core of what we did several years ago, was deficient. It was lacking the things that made this truly successful. Because a brand or a rebrand has to become a part of the fiber of that organization. If everyone doesn't feel it and live it, then they're not selling it very well, and if they're not selling it very well, then it's not going to be successful.
Sometimes when companies rebrand, like there's one, what is it, now I'm going to get this wrong, was it American Express, and then they did, no, not American Express, Ameriprise, it used to be.
The insurance company.
Yeah, and it changed to Ameriprise, and that name never resonated with me, and then I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. I mean, it just,
Right.
what happens when the rebrand goes awry? Like, there's a certain equity you've already built in your company with the brand that you have, and people know you and they're comfortable with it. It's like something your parents always shopped there, or your parents always bought that brand or that brand of insurance or this or that. And now suddenly things are changing, the whole world's changing, it's all global and everybody's doing everything. But now it doesn't really resonate with you, and things change, and sometimes change doesn't feel right to the people, even though the company's still doing the same things, but the branding changes, and then that emotion in you changes when you react to maybe a name change, a color change, a new jingle change.
Right.
I mean, what do you do when you start offending those people who were your core market? I mean, it does happen, I'm sure.
It does. I think
like branding disasters, there could probably be a book on that.
Oftentimes, I think what people do is they look to reinvent themselves, and what they really need to do is be looking to evolve themselves, where the next step is recognizable from the current step. And if you completely throw away what you were, if it was terrible to begin with and everybody hated you, that's probably a wise thing. But if it wasn't and you had people that liked you, you need to think about how you evolve as opposed to completely reinvent. So I would say to those people, to Ameriprise, maybe the step was a baby step or a transitional step that was needed on the way to Ameriprise, and not the giant step that took place.